Chapter 5. 7 chairs were neatly arranged around a large world map-shaped desk. Sayutaro was sitting uncomfortably in a brand new chair between them. "I've never heard of dungeon creation skill," Elid, the butler-suited man sitting in front of him across the desk, muttered to himself as he leafed through some books. As a gesture of good faith, he told the three about the skills he had used. "Indeed, we are underground, but, my lord, in which place on this map did you use that skill?" Bumpy, the white girl sitting next to him, asked. In response, Sayutaro stood up and looked at the vast map of the world. He recalled an article inside, Beta Tester, Yuritsuya Go, a book that he used to read with great excitement before his copy of Eternity arrived. The areas that the beta testers were able to explore in 1 month were the main city of Aristolas' starting point, and then the Iriana Tunnel, the Ura Water Gate, the town of Amro, the Olslib Monastery, Kaloa Castle Town, the Killen Cemetery, the Chrysila Ruins, and Kenrin Caverns. And putting this matter aside, this was the first time Sayutaro realized that he had a good memory, if it was in a field he liked. One of the early discussions concluded that the main maps of Eternity were apparently named in AIUEO order, and the closer they were to the letter N, the farther they were considered to be from the initial area, and the more difficult they were to access. Translator note: N is considered to be the last word in Japanese, not Z. In the game forum, many posts ridicule and criticize Mother AI, which is said to be the crystallization of modern technology. Most of those posts say, "It's reasonable, but it's too simplistic." I was at main city Aristolas. Pointing at Aristolas, which he had finally found, Sayutaro looked at the three for their reactions. He was wary of the three of them, so he did not tell them the initial location, which was probably still full of players. He felt as if he held a huge number of human lives in his hands. Theodore, a dark-haired knight, tilted his head. "Aristolas, huh? I'm not lying, okay?" Theodore noticed the vagueness of this information, and the timid Shutaro tried to look understandably upset. However, Theodore did not seem to pursue the matter too deeply, and pointed to one spot. "This is secret magical realm Las Mayolas. And we are located here, in the deepest part of Las Mayolas Castle. From here to Aristolas, secret magical realm, Macu, this is not a literal translation, possibly subject to change in future." He moved his finger in a sweeping motion, and stopped after quite a distance. And one could tell that Aristolas city was too far away from Las Mayolas. It was as far as the edge of the map. "Is too far." Theodore stares at Sayutaro. The gaze of Theodore's golden eyes seemed to see through everything, and although Sayutaro was not really lying, he felt a reflexive urge to apologize. The truth that no one knows is this. The timing of the start of the death game and the timing of Sayutaro's activation of his skill were the same, without a single tenth of a second deviation. As a result, the coordinates were disordered due to a large-scale map change, and it was connected to an unimplemented map that was scheduled to be released in the future, the Las Mayolas Castle. Of course, this was a situation that neither Sayutaro, the Demon Kings, nor the Mother AI had orchestrated nor predicted. Although there are inconsistencies with my lord's skill, it is a fact that we, the residents of Las Mayolas, and my lord have met. This matter probably had something to do with the sudden presence of massive power that Sylvia felt earlier. That Elid while he opens a thick blank book. "My lord, what else can you do with your dungeon creation skill?" The three men exchanged glances, and the ever-honest Sayutaro selected the skill from the menu screen and opened the dungeon menu, which he was using for the first time. Points in possession, 1000 P. Expand. Build. Summon. Sayutaro assumed that the build and summon skills would be flashy and effective for demonstration, so he used 1 point from the build column to take out a rock. Zugong. With a loud sound, rock sprouts from the floor, blowing away one of the chairs, and the chair crushes under the impact of the fall. At that moment, Sayutaro's fingers are frozen in place. Just earth magic? No, this is amazing. In contrast to disappointed Bumpy, Elid looked very impressed as he examined the rock. The rock Sayutaro just put out is categorized as obstacles. They are literally an object that is intended only to create obstacles in the dungeon and have no special effect other than blocking the way, so they are only worth a few points. By the way, 1000 points are always the default amount one will be given. Bumpy. Everything in this castle, including the furniture, is made of cazador, and no magic or skill can interfere with it. You're right. Elid writes something in a blank book, and Bumpy stares at the rock, looking strangely content. In front of Sayutaro, who was in a panic after destroying someone's precious chair in addition to not knowing how to erase this obstacle, Theodore pulled out a large sword from his back. It was a frightening blade with beautiful decoration. A black steam-like substance was rising from the blade of the sword that glowed as if it wanted to bewitch you. Huh? Deep blow struck before Sayutaro could comprehend what had occurred, and the boulder shattered after the sound of slashing, leaving only a chair-shaped rock. Theodore sat down on his new carved seat with satisfaction. It seems he had simply carved a chair. My lord, is there anything else? Elad's voice pulled him back to reality, and he moved his frozen finger, this time selecting the summon function. Eslam LV.001 cost, 5p, free the first time. Sayutaro realizes that the slime is listed at the top of the list. It's just like any other typical RPG. It was the very first thing one could summon. Dungeon creation is a rare skill in this world, and its purpose is to kill creatures that wander into a dungeon using placed mobs and traps, gaining experience and points as they grow in size. At first, the slimes and traps are unreliable, but as the number of corpses grows, various options will be unlocked, and the dungeon will grow and become more difficult to conquer. However, if the skill holder is killed, the dungeon will collapse, and they lose all points. The dungeon master will need to start over, but in this current situation of the death game environment, it is too risky to wait for the enemy with this kind of force, and it is no exaggeration to call this dungeon skill trash. Sayutaro continues to casually scroll down. He was considering the possibility that summonable mobs existed in order of name, not top to bottom, but when he reached the bottom, he saw an impossible column. Elad LV.120 cost, 0p. Galaris LV.120 cost, 0p. Silvio LV.120 cost, 0p. Theodore LV.120 cost, 0p. Bertrand LV.120 cost, 0p. 120. Sayutaro's surprise was reflected in his voice, but he hurriedly pressed his mouth. Even on a strategy wiki he had been reading, the disparity in the level of eternity was said to be extraordinary compared to other games in the past. For example, if there is a match between 10 level 10 players and 1 level 20 player, the level 20 player will win hands down. In addition, the amount of experience required to raise one's level is quite high, and although it depends on one's occupation, even the top beta player could not raise his level from 40, even if they spend the entire time playing the game. Using Dullahan as an example, it is said that a party of at least level 31 and above must have at least half of their members capable of exploiting Dullahan's weaknesses in order to compete with the level 30 boss mobs. Because there were only 100 beta testers, it was inevitable that only 2 areas were explored during the beta period, and those people had to meet these requirements and gather 6 party members to challenge similar kinds of adversity. Sayutaro silently selects and summons slimes. The first summoning seemed to be free as a first-time bonus, and as a result, his remaining points were not reduced. As soon as a small blue magic circle appeared, the magic circle slowly rotated, and a translucent object appeared in the center and began to move energetically. The 3 demon kings looked at the slime. It's normal slime. But just like my lord, my unique skills are not working on this one. Sayutaro escapes reality by petting the summoned slime. The slime also seemed pleased to be petted by its lord and started to dance its gelatinous body.